I
Ladies and
like that.
gentlemen, welcome to Intermission Transmission.
All right. Yeah, I like that tune a little bit better than the first one I had. All right. There's Charles in chat. All right.
All right, and we want to welcome RL and Alice of Wonderland. That's usually Lorraine.
Yep. Lorraine from
And
Canada. And RL, I can't remember where he's from your area, isn't he, Bobby?
yeah, I forgot as
I
well.
can't remember. Anyway, I'm in Minnesota, and Commander is wherever he needs to be.
I'm in Maine. I'm talking to you from Maine, from the
yeah.
farm out in the woods.
All right, in the woods. So I asked you before we got started. This would be interesting for everyone to know. Your top, Wisconsin. There you go. Thank you, Ariel. I forgot. I knew you were like up here somewhere. I couldn't remember. Again, memory.
Wow. Makes you wonder how far from Milwaukee or Green Bay.
He's, I think, southern Wisconsin, if I remember right. But I might have that wrong.
We've got people. We've got Ertlings all over the country.
Yeah, Ertling. Yeah, you know that's what you are now, Commander. Whether you like it or not.
You are now at least an honorary Ertling.
Yeah.
Excellent. Another feather in the
there you go.
We're working. I'm trying to talk Ron into getting a patch.
Yeah, well, I'll be more than happy to put it on a T-shirt for you guys. We have to do something about that picture you have of me, Ron. I absolutely despise that picture. It was one of those quickies I had to do for KGRA.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I can't stand that picture.
I won't tell you where I got it from then. Quiet down.
Oh, I'm sure you got it from Skywatcher.
I thought I was doing you a favor. Anyway, all right. Well, you can hate me later then.
Oh no.
All right.
Yeah, nothing to do with you. I just dislike the picture.
Goofy. I didn't know of anything else to use, and Bill said, "Here's one. Use this."
Oh
one.
yeah.
So you trying to help me out?
Goofy is here. Welcome, Goofy.
Goofy is an author. In case you don't know, she has this book that she wrote. She put together. She had this book put together. What's interesting is now when you order this book, and then she can send you when you show that you had purchased it, then she can do a digital. You can order a special digital back that I have on my computer, but I don't have it on the book. But when you look at it together on the computer and you show it with the cover, and it looks like it's the whole thing,
Right.
But it's not. It's just a generated picture of a digital, whatever design she wanted to put for whatever you want. So pretty cool. So, but anyway, the book is you can get it on Amazon or whatever. But let her know that you bought the book, And then
I'll have to let you know. She can contact me at Commander COBRA KGRADB at Gmail, or I will get a hold of her through you.
Okay, there you go. Yep. She's always on some of our chats wherever we are. She's always hanging around, so not hard to get a hold of. But so I had 4 questions for you, didn't I? 3?
Well, you broke out 2 questions with like 27 subparts. I thought it was like a college level exam here.
And we want to welcome Johnny Unitas from Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah.
I think Amanda told me that one time.
Yeah. And I was just making stuff up, Commander, and you already got all those numbers out of that? Wow. Max is talking.
So, before we jump into the questions, did you have a good time at the Pine Bush?
I did.
UFO Festival?
Yeah, I did. Now I don't know if you knew last year. You weren't there last year, but
no.
I had done a leg procedure. I had to do a vein procedure for my legs, and that didn't really take Not like the old days, where they'd actually cut open the leg and strip out the vein. This is where they do the laser light thing, whatever.
Right.
And they close off one end, whatever, reroute it, things like that. That's what they did. Now, it still takes a lot out of you, no matter what it is.
Yep.
Still a tough procedure to go through. And so I went to Pine Bush and I went to Gettysburg, and, right after that surgery, and it was not easy, not easy at all. So I'm still kind of getting used to running around a lot. And so I was, the heat got to me a little bit, and I take medication, and so probably shouldn't be in the sun a lot, and that's why I had to find shade when I sat down,
Well, you were a bit of a chick magnet at the
right.
Pine Bush. Every place he was parking it, we were getting more and more gals for stopping by.
Yeah, we don't tell that secret, but that's
all right. Well, you didn't tell me that this was part of the secret part of the conversation. Now, how'd you like Gettysburg?
Last year when I went, I enjoyed it. That's why I liked it so much. I'm going back this year.
That's considered one of the most haunted places in the world, let alone the United States.
They say that, and I watched a video thing that I think RL sent us about the history of Gettysburg, and everything.
I have to dig it up for you, Ron. I had a author who has written, I think, something in the neighborhood of 20 or 30 books on Gettysburg. He was a park ranger.
Oh, wow.
And he was there. He retired there. And he leads trips around. And he explains the battlefield and where the park is now, and then structures that were around from the Civil War, or parts of them that were around.
Wow.
Amazing, amazing tour. It was one of my favorite shows. It was just by accident. I happened to read his book, one of his books.
I'll have to get his name. Yeah.
But it's not a horrifying, but it's a very it can be a pretty outstanding experience. But it's amazing the kinds of reports and experiences that people have there.
Yeah. Now, when I went there, I did the free. You can do the driving tour, and that's free. It doesn't cost anything, right?
Right.
And so I tried that, right? I got about halfway through it, and because I do sense things, I feel things. I'm an intuitive to some degree. Obviously, I think we all are at some point. And until we feel things, we're all kind of an empath, if you will. And that's kind of our spiritual nature, right? Our inner self, whatever you want to call it. But anyways, I'm driving halfway through the park. It's like, I got to get the hell out of this place. It's driving me crazy. I don't know why I got so anxious to get out of there, but I couldn't go through it and enjoy it. Because I don't know.
Were you by yourself?
Yeah, I was by myself. I got freaked out.
Yep.
And so this year I'm asking, some of the people I'm going to be associating with, some of my good paranormal friends that do this kind of work for a living, so to speak.
Yep.
I'm going to ask some of them, maybe, hey, take me along on a guide, guide me along, and, hold my hand, if you will, whatever you want to call it, so that I don't run out of there, so I can actually enjoy some of the sights, and I want to learn more about it and understand why I'm feeling that way, first of all, and understand some of the anxiety that I might have because of whatever it is, and I just think that if I understood it a little more, I might be a little bit more comfortable with what I'm dealing with, My house is kind of weird, it has things happening in it. I've had people remote view my house, and they see the same things that I see, things like that. And so what I find it interesting is that something like that would kind of cause an anxiety with me, even though I don't really have a fear of it necessarily. Just the not understanding.
Well, it might be something like when you work out or you're getting into some kind of physical shape, or if you're studying for a big exam, if you can get yourself conditioned into experience it. So it sounds like you probably have small experiences in when you talk about a place like Gettysburg, the amount of I guess, for lack of a better term, psychic energy or spiritual presence that's there is so. I mean, if you obviously are in tune to it, you know, knobs like me just do not. I'd have to really be in the right kind of training to receive it. But that's probably something you can build up to, and it might take taking bites at it, to condition yourself to get used to it, because you're trying to handle it.
And that's what I think. If I'm with the right people, which I have some good friends in the field, and they're honest about what they're doing. They're not trying to necessarily get rich off of it, and they're enjoying what they're learning as well.
Well, you know how you make $1 million in this business. I've told you that before.
You
hang out with 10 million.
Yeah. Or you hang around with a millionaire and then somehow you get, I don't know. What was that one? You hang out with a millionaire, you become one or something like that? I never had that happen either.
Yeah, I haven't had that opportunity.
Usually I hang out with the less I wouldn't say less fortunate, but not so rich. So, and guess where I am? Not so rich. But no, I enjoy going to these events and learning and getting to know some of these people. And last year, what I got to do is, I like to do tarot card readings, just for fun. I do it for entertainment. You got to say that, so nobody gets freaked out. And so I do it for fun, entertainment. And
the only thing that's not allowed here at the house, my wife absolutely will not permit, is a Ouija board.
Yeah, I won't have one of those either.
Absolutely verboten. And it absolutely freaks her out. When I was a young kid, I was raised Roman Catholic. One Christmas, my parents got me a Ouija board. Parker made Ouija boards, as a Christmas present. I still remember it came in a white box. And we had a big meal, and before the evening meal, we normally would play cards. We decided to do the Ouija thing, and we had no idea what we were doing. Didn't open it correctly, didn't close it correctly, none of that kind of stuff. I remember my dad was asking questions if I was going to be good or bad, and it kept always giving, and he swore he wasn't pushing it to get the answer. So we didn't take it very seriously. I had it for a long time, lost track of it. And that was really it. But that really absolutely freaked my wife out that happened, because she just does not item.
So let's stick with the Ouija board. Whenever you in your life experienced the Ouija board, did your wife freak out in some way and somehow that she said this ain't gonna happen again?
Nope. She what she has learned about them, I've seen in the popular movie genres on that, maybe the pseudo documentary kind of shows on that. That's just something she is not ever going to allow. Now, I think she has. I know she has a very good sensitivity, and I've seen this with animals. I've seen it what she does.
I just thought that she would be doing something in her hands, her ways, or something. What's up, Amanda?
Well, it's great to see Amanda.
Yeah, there's Amanda right there.
We'll send her a link.
So, where we live, we have a very close to our house is a family plot cemetery. The area I live in was settled in the late 1600s, early 1700s. And it was a number of brothers that had tracts of land where we're at. Didn't bother us in the least. In fact, the joke was that the family that we bought, that they tried to cover it up by allowing trees to grow in the cemetery, and we cleaned all the trees up and restored the cemetery.
Oh,
And as a kid, on my side of the family, going to the cemetery was not an uncommon thing. You know, we visit the cemetery on a frequent basis, literally visiting. So nothing there that would throw it or scare it off. What do you want to know, Amanda? I will stop a story for you like a truck in traffic. What do you want to know, girl?
well, she can join us if she wants to. And I'm sure Bobby sent her the link already.
Yeah, I did. And another thing, Ron, you could have used my Twitch route just in case I got Twitch viewers and stuff. I'm
I
gonna let
can't.
that slide, but
Yeah, but I can't. I can't log into your account on Twitch.
no,
That's
no, no,
you.
you should be able to. You should be able. You should just click on my icon and you should be fine.
Oh,
And what's
okay. I
up,
didn't know I
Sheree?
could. All
Yeah.
right, I didn't know I could. So now, Commander, now that your story is completely off track and degraded,
That's okay.
what is the top 5 planes?
All right.
Let's
Well,
now get some
I'm
people.
going to do question 2 and the 2-parter there. Highest altitude, probably someplace in the neighborhood of like what we would call Angels 42,000 feet. That'd be about the highest.
Oh wow, that'd get me a little sick. That'd be too high.
Yeah, you need to be obviously if you're not pressurized. The military airplane is what I did that in. You're wearing an oxygen mask. You have some level of pressurization in the aircraft to get away with that. If you lose pressurization when you're approaching those altitudes, it's bad news quickly. You have to make a really rapid descent.
Well,
what people don't realize is that when you get really, really high altitude, low pressure, fluids expand, literally blood boils. So that's the reason why you have to have pressure suits and more enclosed suits. Now, to the folks that fly like SR-70, well, one, they flew the SR-71 and whatever's replaced it. And the U-2 that's still out there flying. I've got a number of friends and associates that have flown the U-2. They are cruising 75,000 feet at top altitude. So when you are on the ground and look at an airliner going over the top of you, that's usually right around 35,000 feet, give or take.
Yeah.
That's what they see when they look down. They see the same airplane that you do, but they see it 35,000 feet higher.
Wow.
Than that. So that's a pretty interesting perspective. Great airplane, phenomenal performing airplane, does a great mission. And the fastest I've ever gone is a little bit over the speed of sound, 1.1, 1.2 Mach. So,
wow. Now, when you're up 40,000 feet, kind of, what is that compared to, say, well, what is Mount Everest? How high is that?
I don't know what Everest is. I think Everest is in the 20s. I think it's like, I think it's in the 20s, 21, 22,000.
I'm pretty sure it's high 20s.
Yeah.
26 or 27.
Because the famous Colonel Scott Flying Tiger flew a P-40 over Everest when he was there in that part of the world in World War II. And that would be, those planes really couldn't get much higher than 30,000 feet. And that would be a max of what they had. So that gives you a pretty good idea of it.
Now, when you're going that high and you're going, 700 miles an hour, I guess, somewhere around there.
Well, it depends. You don't necessarily have, you really don't track airspeed.
Okay.
When you get up into those altitude regions, your airspeed becomes somewhat unreliable because of the low density of the air. So we use a different instrument. And that instrument is the Mach indicator. And like airliners like to travel someplace around 0.7 to 0.8 Mach. And you have that indicator. What controls that is temperature. So altitude will have some less density because the air molecules are closer to the surface of the earth, so it's less. And then it's the temperature. So the speed of sound is someplace around high 600s, the 680 to 725 miles per hour, close to the surface. The higher you go, the speed of sound, that number drops down, but it's on a curve because the density of the air is changing. The physical molecules that are hitting together, that's how sound moves, is that percussion of air molecules that are moving. That's what changes. So that's why it's kind of an unreliable. And there's certain things at high altitude. I'm mostly a low altitude guy. I spend the vast majority of my life 20,000 feet and less. And for when I was flying helicopters, you got a nosebleed in the in any kind of combat kind of training kind of scenario. If you were above maybe 200 feet, you were way too high. So
yeah, interesting.
No, I read some years ago that one of the reasons that only the best pilots got to fly the U2s, which they called the Dragon Lady.
Yep, still do.
Was because their functional speed and altitude was right on the edge of the stall.
Right. So there's about a
little bit faster, and they were supersonic.
Right.
A little bit slower, and they were in the stall.
Right. So they have about a 10 to 18 knot window that they operate in.
Yes.
You're correct. Correct. They're in the stall to this critical edge with the going too fast, that they're going to start having compressibility issues. So that combination, but the real definitive factor for U2 pilots is the ability to land the airplane. So I know of countless incredibly good pilots who did not make the cut in U2s for two reasons. One, the first one is one of the first things they do when they get you there is they put you into a pressure suit, because you're in a pressure suit the entire time you're flying the aircraft. So if you're going to feel claustrophobic, if you're not going to be comfortable, if you can't get comfortable wearing basically a spacesuit, that's going to be one of the things that if they can't get you through that, you're going to not fly the U2.
Right.
And they have you have ways that you can get some nutrition and some water while you're flying it. Their missions easily run anywhere from 8 to 12 hours on that. So that's one. The second part is the landing of the airplane. It's a very, very difficult airplane to land because the pilots really cannot see well how they are coming down to the runway. So they have a high-speed vehicle that chases them when they come in for a landing. That high-speed vehicle is another U2 pilot in that vehicle, a souped-up hot rod. They chase after, and they're telling them how high they are above the runway so that they can set the attitude, because the aircraft lands on bicycle tires. It's a front and back tire arrangement. The little wing wheels drop off when they take off. When they take off and it's heavier weight, that's how they keep the wing from hitting.
Oh, wow.
So when it comes down, they have to lane.
Yeah.
So did you hear that NASA audio not meant to be heard by the public, in which they had a medical emergency and instructed the crew to put a member back in his suit for pressurization? I think that was a drill.
Yeah, so that's a fairly standard procedure in that realm. Diving does a similar thing as well, and for a different reason for the bends. When you're starting to get nitrogen coming out of solution into your bloodstream, very, very, very painful. It can block certain areas in your blood flow because the nitrogen bubble has come. Basically, it's formed a bubble. It's come out of solution. Similar kinds of things can happen with high altitude sickness, and then of course, when you get into space physiology and space medicine, you can control the environment in a suit, much like you can a chamber for a diver, much more quickly than you can for like an entire, like the space station or an entire spacecraft. So that's one of the reasons why they try to put people back into that. And one of the most important things you do in the case of like the U2 and certain other flights, before you go, in fact, they did a little bit of it with Tom Cruise in the last Top Gun when he flies the what they call that. It's a really great story. The name escapes me that they made up. Yeah, it's supposed to be the SR-72, but they black something or the diamond or something. It was a very funny story that went around on that. But they'll pre-breathe oxygen for a long period of time to get as much nitrogen out of your system.
Didn't they do that on the Apollo missions?
Say again?
Didn't they do that on the Apollo missions?
Yeah, they do it all any kind of high altitude work.
For them, it was to keep the pressure down.
And
Because
to cleanse the system.
That 3 psi or 14 psi makes a big structural difference in the craft.
Right.
Yeah. So how do you love Pine Bush this year? I don't think if you was a speaker,
Nope.
and
I
if you have any highs and lows about it.
I had the alien glasses on,
Yeah.
and I was told that the alien, I was rocking them, and I was told that by not one, not two, but 3 different women. So I was pretty impressed with that an old man gets that kind of attention because of sunglasses. Really got to pay attention to the eyewear.
I've got to get sunglasses.
I'm telling you, the Alienware works. I'm telling you, that works. For me, it's been a long time since I've had the chance to get down to see Bill Skywatcher and visit with his family, visit with the gang that shows up there. I met some new people this time. It was a wonderful trip. Really, really good trip. Really good time. It always is when I get to see Bill. But the difference in how the festival has come together, I was really impressed. Starting with the police department and the other first responders that were there, totally organized. Everybody was really friendly. Everybody wanted you to have a good time, came in and, connected right up. Yeah. So I was really impressed from the very start. There's a lot of different vendors there. There's a lot of people that were interested in some specific part of this whole UFO paranormal kind of thing in there. So that was good.
Yeah. I still wanted to know why Bill chickened out, but he went to the convention center and enjoyed it.
Oh yeah, Bill got in. He was around. He ran a number of things behind the scenes, as he normally does. He's a man for all occasions when it comes to that. And well, he's a good friend, and he has been for a long, long time. Bill was the producer that was actually able to get my show finally clicking 10 or 12 years back. So good man on all that.
It sure doesn't seem like that long.
It's freaky when you look at it.
Yeah.
And you start to realize, time on and time off. Yeah.
Yeah. You think about when I first met you 8 years ago.
Yep.
I had to show myself here on Errt for 3 years.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it does fly. Time waits on no one.
COVID was the hard point for a lot of things that went on, and I had switched jobs just as who gets hired. But the government picked me up as a contractor right in the middle of COVID, which I still
there you go. Yeah.
Yeah. And remember, KGRA used to be a radio station before they tried to go video and stuff.
Yep.
And then they had problems trying to make it work.
Yeah, it's gone through a really interesting evolution. I think that everything that Warren's doing with it is phenomenal. And they've really developed some interesting parts to it. The ease by which the video mixes in and how they're doing it with the digital broadcasting, like what you're doing with the Errt. This is something that Ron has had nurturing along for a while. He's always been very nice to hit me up for an interview.
Oh yeah.
When I can get a kitchen pass and get the animals to bed early out there.
Yeah.
And I don't.
What's also sad is the reason why
beverages before a show like
I'm
this.
sorry.
Right.
Yeah, I think the reason why that KGRA had to leave YouTube behind was they set some rules and regulatory measures about disinformation, what is true, what is not true, what is real news, and what is fake news. So the problem is they don't want to hear that crap.
Well, I think the vast majority of people on KGRA are pretty straight shooters. It's been a while since I really ran through the whole network. If anybody's going to get in trouble, it was probably me, and I took a pretty good whomping because I didn't buy into the pandemic, starting with its reported source. And time has probably proved me out pretty correctly that I said it came out of the lab and it was a weaponized thing. We don't have to get on that pathway, but that was.
I didn't think that was ever a doubt.
Yeah, I'm with you. But I had a lot of people that were pretty upset with me.
And Commander, when I talk about that, I always say the incident. You know, I don't like to say the name of the item because some people get in trouble for that. I don't know. You don't usually have that trouble, but I know other people that have gotten in trouble just by saying the name of it. You know.
Well, I think a lot of us have been washed clean in the last month's worth of recent discussions that have come out by some of the key players. Well, we won't delve into that. We'll save that for another show sometime.
Good.
Yeah.
I'll wear a different set of eyewear for that show that night.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Which I do have a rant about it. We didn't have to do it with swine or burb or whatever kind of. Why
because that's
the 2020?
Well, you had the election, and it was obviously that was partially the timing on it. But I don't think whoever was running, I think that was coming. So I'll be as succinct on this, and I don't want to upset anybody.
Yeah, let's not get into that.
So you would remember this. Right. Going back to the time of Ford, President Ford. Was the first swine flu mass vaccination in the United States. That had to be like 1977. I'm saying.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of controversy about that too. But they didn't say if you want to keep your job, you have to take this medicine in 77. That's when you start messing with people's livelihoods.
Sure.
That's when it gets serious, you know?
So I'm going to jump to Ufi's question. What are my favorite topics to discuss these days?
Yes.
So I do a UAP Crossfire show with a number of what I consider some really great researchers.
Yeah.
Martin was with us. He's departing the show. Don Ecker, Chris DePrano. These guys are real investigators with real street cred. I barely can carry their book bag to the discussion. What I'm good at is I'm good at explaining a lot of the aircraft technicality stuff. We had a very interesting member. I wish I could remember his name off the top of my head. Like Ron, if I don't write it down, these names escape me. It's becoming more of a thing.
It's all of it.
But he's with MUFON, and he is the director of their video and picture interpretation.
Mark D'Antonio.
Yeah.
So he brought out a couple really interesting historical pictures, and one of them he brought out, we talked at length, and I could talk to him about some of the things that were depicted in a 16th century mural in a church that showed certain aerodynamic devices on this picture that were very, very advanced, and that you would have for a high-speed aircraft that obviously at that point in our history, as the world history, was not in use. So if somebody drew this without actually seeing it, they did an incredibly lucky good job to put some of the kinds of things that they did on this silhouette of an aircraft went to a picture. So I really love trying to apply some of that and keep, try to keep those kinds of things as relevant, because I think when you can eliminate a particular key event, when you can eliminate it and say, okay, this is obviously not an aircraft, or it's not an aircraft under any of the sense that we would define an aircraft with. Now you have
So I think everybody should know about how we're supposed to be able to hold your tongue on some of these things. When it comes to political stuff, I just wish I could find them and punch them in the face.
No, you don't do that.
Right.
So
No.
you're putting your hand into my cage there, master player. So I'm trying to figure out what angle we're pursuing here. So freedom of speech is only one way. You decide.
It's freedom of speech unless someone wants to get you for slander or libel or whatever it is. Definition is one of them.
Well, that's the problem. I think most people would agree with.
So what do you think about Mark Antonio?
One of my best friends in this part of the business. Mark's probably one of the smartest guys I've been around, and I'm hoping, we're still hoping that he's going to put one of his remote viewing observatories here on the property in Maine, because I have some fairly dark sky up here.
Oh, there you go.
Now, wouldn't that be great that the night that the goats climb up there and you can see
Yeah.
them looking down in there before you look at a
All
nebula?
part of they can be all part of the family. You know, they can be on duty spotters.
That would be fun.
Anything comes around, you know, that's not in the camera field.
You'd probably be the farthest north, though, as far as people we know at this point.
Yeah, and I'm not that far up in the state. I'm pretty far down in the southwest corner of the state. I'm just I'm right near I'm in the foothills of the White Mountains.
Okay.
Betty and Betty Hill kind of territory.
Oh, nice. Yeah. But he will have 2 observatories in Arizona.
Right.
Right. And then he would have yours.
Yeah, I'm hoping one of these days we were able to do it.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Do you have an opinion on Project Galileo? Isn't that the one that the guy from Harvard's trying to get started? To have observatories all over the country?
Yeah.
No.
At this point of the time that we live, the way they ran SETI a few years back, when people could allow their computers to be used for basically to crunch the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And that extended from before they had the latest, couple of chip breakthroughs and processor breakthroughs. But you could take 2 or 3 laptop computers or tabletop personal computers, link them together, and start to approach a degree of supercomputer technology. You had enough storage space and enough speed that you could run your subroutines, go through, and then when you get the ones that are coming off and hitting the click, you had some place to store it. You didn't have to stop. So I think we've proven that there's a pretty easy way to do that. And I don't think the camera, the physical looking to the sky technology now is pretty small, pretty compact. The power requirements are incredibly low compared to what they were before. If you were able to couple up with solar panels, which I have on my house, and I'm not a super duper green kind of person. I'm a very conservationist, conservative type of person. And I don't like to pay an electric bill. That's the other part of it. So I'm a big shit with the money in that department.
Yeah.
So how do you enjoy being with Chris, Don, and Martin?
I like I said, I've known all of them for a while. Martin is occasionally up this part of the country. He did have some time in Maine, and he should be back up. He's going to do his summers in New Hampshire this year. So we'll get together. We'll get together physically when he's here. Martin is a really interesting guy with some of the stuff that he has. That he does for work with his, he's got a little bit of everything. At one point, I believe he was a park ranger in his life. So, the full circle there, but he does a lot of appraisals. He does a lot of work with people with antiques, auctioning and stuff like that. A lot of fun. He really is a fun guy. Obviously, as you can probably tell if you've been on the show, politically, we diverge in some areas, but I guarantee you that when you get down to basic constitutional liberty kind of things, we all start to come back towards that soft center. Don, I've known almost as long as I've been on KGRA. He returned to KGRA shortly after my show was pretty much established. Been a guest on his show. He's been a guest on mine. I really like his approach, his experience, and the work that he and Vicky, his wife, did through the years. The people they know, the files that he has, the stuff that's come out. And Don's starting to pump out some very interesting, what you would call white paper, position paper. They're very, very interesting. This latest one that he shared, and it should be showing up at KGRA. If somebody wants it, they just contact me. I'll get you a copy of it.
So, what are your thoughts about using UAP?
Hold on. I'm finishing the thought. A vision of thought, because I'm not a politician, so I'm pretty sure no one's going to be voting for me. So I'm going to finish the question all the way through. So on Don, this one he did, he had a CIA contact, and he had started up a database that was done on the DOS system before the internet really had connected up. And that's pretty much gone away, but he has some parts of the files. So those are the kinds of things that Don pulls out, plus people that he's with, TV interviews he did in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, just amazing stuff. And Chris DiPerno is like a teddy bear. Experienced law enforcement guy. When he tells you about the kinds of spiritual, physical reactions that he's had with people that are truly face-to-face with evil, that have been arrested for horrendous crimes, his absolute big heart looking into anything that is in the UFO world. And the three of them, we're always either texting or calling. I'm glad I got hands free, but you can always tell when I'm talking with Don Eckert because I'm changing lanes. Anybody who's on the show knows what I'm referring to when I'm saying that. I'm changing lanes.
Yeah.
So, okay, now, what are your thoughts of using UAP special emissions for identification and analysis, and if it can be used if it can be combined with AI, and how and in what ways might be useful?
There's a lot in there. I'm gonna take a stab at what I think what I'm understanding from the question. So when I'm one of those people who believes that Tic Tac is ours, that it's not alien, it's not extraterrestrial, it's ours. The Tic Tac, when it came up, when it does, in fact, we just had a very recent Tic Tac type sighting here off the East Coast. The Blue Angels were doing an air show off Long Island, and for about, I think it's less than maybe 4 or 5 seconds, this thing shows up in the background of one of the F-18s for the Blue Angels flying, and then kind of disappears out of the picture again. A lot of reasons how it would appear and disappear. So you asked me about the AI part of it. People say, well, how could any human occupant survive those kinds of incredible changes in velocity, directions, and going? The reason that we have trouble comprehending that is because we think it's going to be flown and it's being controlled the way we control air-breathing aircraft that we're using now. If you are using what I think are advanced anti-gravity drives, if you've mastered what's going on there, to me, that means that some internal part, like we were talking earlier, pressurization of a cockpit, those kinds of things, you have a field that's probably allowing for very close to normal feeling. And if you're using anything that's AI related, you're not going to be using your hands and feet like Commander Cobra. You're not flying like a monkey anymore. It's an insult to monkey when you say that. You're going to be flying in a much different mode, probably directly connected cerebrally to what you're doing with this craft. Looks like you're going to jump in and say something. Go ahead.
I'd love to. Do you remember hearing from Ben Rich making the statement, it's all about the ESP stuff?
Oh, yeah.
That was probably 30 years ago.
Sure.
That he made that public.
So, and here's what a lot of the things that drove that through. Obviously, the 60s, 70s, there was a lot of investigation into ESP type stuff. Iron Curtain, both sides were
yes.
very invested in this. There was a lot of remote viewing really kicked off in that. And I've had probably one of the most interesting with Margie Kay. She was a guest on my show. She had never met me. She's never met me in person. She knew nothing about me. She didn't even know where I lived. She came onto the show. We're having a great show. She does great work. Her and Race are doing, I think, great work down there with X down in Arkansas.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're getting questions too fast.
Yeah,
Too
hold
fast.
on, Bobby.
Well,
you
you're
hear
gonna
about
have me
the-
back on, Ron. I mean, if it can't get it all in one night, but I'm like Sinatra. I only do one show a night. That's what's in my contract.
See, this is what the universe really looks like.
Oh, well, I've
You've got
heard.
UFOs over here. You've got ghosts over here. You've got something else over here. And we live on this one. You know.
Well,
Different
you're
facets.
bringing up a really interesting part, because let me close out the ESP portion.
Okay.
There's a lot of problems as you're starting to physically black out a pilot, that before you completely black out, your brain is still there. You start to lose your vision in high G, but you're still awake.
Mhm.
You may not be able to actuate controls very well because of the physical forces on you. But this is where the thought was, no pun intended, if we connect activity to the brain, like we have had some success with paraplegics, where you're able to have their brain signals activate machinery so that they can interact and make it do what it wants without physical manipulation. This is where they were headed to. I think with the cerebral kind of connections that they're doing, which I find a little frightening, to be quite honest with you, that might be where we're headed to, or that connection might be there. I think that's
Are they tying? Do you think they're tying this into out of body experiences and the near death experience?
I don't know how that fits into something like controlling a craft, a vehicle of some kind, but I am.
Well, having experienced the near-death experience.
Yeah.
If you can, while you're gone, while you're down, okay, while you're out of body, if you can see something and conceive it and observe it and bring it back to your body when your body is flatlined, okay. You're processing it over there somehow.
Well, you are touching upon what Paul Eno and I always talked about. And it's very funny to me when you talk to some UFO people, they don't want to talk anything about paranormal.
Yeah.
And when you're with some paranormal folks, absolutely not. And if you're into someone who's into cryptids and you're talking to cryptids, and in fact, there's a cryptid museum here in Maine, good one. I tried to get the director and the founder of the museum on. He wouldn't talk to me because he looked down his nose at my show. Not my kind of show. I still tell people to go to the museum, but he literally had a picture of a UFO with the Bigfoot in there. If you talk to like Stan Gordon, who I talk every time I drive through Pennsylvania, I call Stan as I'm heading that direction. The UFO superhighway that runs on 84 going through Pennsylvania is freaking amazing. And I used to fly through there all the time. I'm always looking for the contact there. It hasn't happened for me in that area. But
yeah, so
Charles,
I'm gonna go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna see if Ron's got any thoughts about it before we get to the questions.
No, I'm just listening what he's saying. I'm trying to keep up with what he's talking about.
Well, Ron,
Yeah,
you guys have got me
we
completely wired
are
up.
trying to catch up with this.
I felt like I should have taken a caffeine drink.
Yeah.
You ever heard about the pieces from SpaceX from Canada? The one that brought 4 people back from the ISS?
Did you hear about the pieces of SpaceX falling in Canada? No, but I have not. But I had a very interesting call earlier, and it'll tie into Ron's question. I was out. This would have been February of this year. I was out with my wife. My daughter was here with her husband. We were out, got a call, and they said, "Hey, we're sending a plane up. We need you to meet the plane in either Rhode Island or Pennsylvania, Delaware, you name it. That's where we'll meet you. We need you to fly offshore to track down the boosters from SpaceX flight, because they did a launch that was more going in the direction of north-south, more of a polar route. And they have a fleet of helicopters that they contract with that are out of Texas that go out and pick up the boosters when they come down, and they also pick up the astronauts if they have the capsule. If they land in the water, that's how they bring them back.
Yeah. So keeping in the subject of SpaceX, what do you think about the Starlink home internet taking over? I think Amazon's going to do the same as well.
I love it. I see Starlink go by here. I'm sure Amanda has as well, because we're at that latitude. Ron probably has as well. I think it's a great system. I like anything that's competition that breaks the back of terrestrial related gear. I think it's phenomenal. I remember many years back, and you guys are probably too young to remember, when Iridium was going out of business. They couldn't make because we hadn't really developed. So everything was still going to be sat phones, because we hadn't really figured out the way to do the whole cellular phone worldwide quite yet. And I remember saying to a buddy of mine, I was on active duty when this came up, I said, there's no way that Iridium satellites are not going to be used. Someone's going to step in, and they're going to grab those satellites, and they're going to keep that network up. And that network has been replenished. It's still one of the most popular ones.
Okay. Yeah. If the technology is ours, how is it working on standard physics?
Well,
that's out. I was mentioning that was off the subject, but maybe
no.
You might.
They want to know why I still think that Tic Tac is the breakthrough. I think that the breakthrough may have occurred a lot earlier. What I think the problem is that you don't see more of these is twofold. One, the amount of money that is probably spent to have these vehicles work is probably incredibly high. And secondly, it is incredibly destabilizing if one nation comes out and says they have the ability to have a Tic Tac and others don't. When you have that kind of destabilization that goes on, you now make people very fearful that the United States is too far out on the line. We don't have this somewhat parity between it. And now you start to make people nervous that they're going to do something like attack. And I mean, that's all we talk about now for the last 6 months is the nuclear sabers being rattled to the point of like crotches. I mean, there isn't a part of the world where that isn't being talked about right now. So I think that's part of the reason. But I think the physics part of it is, I think we've solved some of those problems. Now, remember, there were programs that still aren't really wide known, and there's some that I'll never know anything about, where we were talking about having nuclear-driven airplanes. We had a bomber that was going to use a nuclear reactor to actually make the bomber fly. But it was going to spew out so much radioactivity that as it went to the target, it was going to cause lethal swaths of the Earth to be covered with it. But the advantage of it was, of course, you didn't have to
your dirt.
It's there. So
So Charles, you have a comment?
Where pilots had their lives short. You too, people have a lot of medical issues because of the amount of time that they spend in pressure suits. They have a lot of issues that come up with the kind of physical body damage that they do to themselves to fly those aircraft and fly them very well. And this goes on in the military all the time. Sometimes known, sometimes not known.
Mm-hmm. So, Charles, you have a comment on that or no?
Having a weapon dropping radioactive particles isn't a problem if it's not your dirt.
Right. But if you're taking off someplace out of Nevada,
Yeah.
If you're taking off someplace out in Nevada and flying to another place,
Yes.
everyone. And remember what we did in the 50s and 60s. We were doing surface testing of nukes.
Sure.
Yeah.
And people can't understand why we have the cancer rate that we do. We have the cancer rate that we do because we have put a lot of atomic particles into our atmosphere.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to be a 10,000 years from now. This day and date, will be marked in the geographic layer from those bombs.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, Ron, you have any comments?
I was thinking about the advancement of things. I remember in the late '60s when we used to listen to a radio station in San Francisco called KFRC. You know, it was AM station, and it had blocks of time for the different shows. You know, like you'd have blocks of time for music, you have blocks of time for comedy, you have blocks of time for sports. You know what I'm saying? In the '60s, all right, in the late '60s, and KFRC was the name of the station. It was only on AM. Then I remembered when they were talking about FM radio. What the hell is FM radio, right? And they're going from AM that could only be shot in a straight line from point A to point B, right? And then FM could go pretty much a little bit farther and can be stretched out and go over mountains and things like that. And so FM was really the way to go. And then we lost that hometown radio station, though. You know what I mean? So I don't know if you see the advancement of that in our technology. Do you think we're losing the hometown feel of things?
Yeah. Absolutely. You know, our world is changed because of what we're doing right now tonight and the way what we're doing it. Look at the folks that are in our chat room. We have a live picture. It's not slow scan TV. You know, I remember that was the rage when everybody didn't want to be in ham radio and they were having slow scan TV.
Yeah.
It's like flashing a digital image every 30 seconds. It's crazy. But we thought it was the greatest thing since sliced bread in a plastic bag with a wire tie.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the media has completely changed.
Master
Player touched upon in the beginning, the disinformation and who gets to call its difference. I don't particularly care. As long as I'm not forced to listen to something, I want the whole thing out there. Right. But you have, it goes back to my argument about the tic-tac. Look how newspapers, physical newspapers, are still trying to hang on. Okay? And I do like a newspaper. I get a paper that's delivered to me once a week. But I got to be honest with you, it's more of a mental status thing. I don't grab it and sit down and read it like I did in the days when papers used to go. There were times when I used to read 2 or 3 papers a day when newspapers. I do this all online now. I do that, you know, on my phone like everybody else. So that's changed. It's allowed the person, any person can be a quote unquote journalist now. Can be a photojournalist. You can have access to the entire globe via a handheld device, your phone. Or if you're old enough, everybody has a tricorder, and we're living part of the Star Trek dream of having the ability to communicate and send information and get that kind of information. That's completely how we do business.
That's how like tablets and iPads are born.
Absolutely.
So moving along, are you suggesting that UAP pilots are jacked in, aka Europe, to the craft's control system?
Would not be surprised if that is part of it. So let me give you a real world example that I know that did occur. When we now fly long range strikes, like the work that the B-2 does. Now, I'm not commenting on what the B-2 does. I do not have inside information on that. But when I flew certain helicopter missions where we were going to be in there a long time, we're going to aerial refuel, we had a regime that we had to follow. We went into a thing called isolation before we flew. Now, obviously, we didn't have to worry about the same physiological issues, but our diet kind of changed a little bit so that we would not have certain gastro issues while we're doing that. You had a certain sleep cycle. It got adjusted so that when you were on your mission and you were crossing time zones, your body clock had been adjusted so you didn't see the sunlight. You didn't have those kinds of things going on, and you got some happy pills. You got pills that help you sleep. You got pills that help you get up. And when you were flying the mission, you took on a schedule things that gave you the kind of stimulation that you needed to do the hard part, and then the stuff to calm you down and then get you ready to land.
Yeah. So, any more planes you brought?
Hold on. This is important. Let me get the whole part. On the Soviet side, they actually had an IV system that went into the pilot that was putting liquid dispersal into the bloodstream.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, some of theirs, when they were doing the work, it didn't always work on the great schedule, and the depressant and the stimulant was going on at the places they didn't have it.
Oh.
So yeah, those things, those were old. Those are the kind of mechanical ways of handling what now I think we're doing at a much higher sophisticated level.
Yeah.
Wow. And sorry for going too quick, but have you ever brought any planes recently? Or
I still have my my Velocity airplane. That's the little experimental swept wing. The engine's in the back. That's my personal airplane.
Routine.
And I'm still flying mostly small general aviation airplanes. I still get quite a bit of time in the Skymaster.
Good.
Yeah.
What's your average hours per month?
Oh, it's terrible. I used to be flying easily. I was clocking in 500 to 800 hours a year easy back in the day.
Wow.
Now I'm down. I'm 100 hours to 200 hours a year. Because my work is not primarily flying now. It's more doing the engineering kind of stuff.
Right. Cool.
Yeah.
But that makes me need to fly more. See, that's how I get my mental clarity back, is to go out and actually fly. So
yeah, that makes sense. I like that. Man, I should have had you fly me to New York this year. Huh.
All right. So you want to know my 5 airplanes?
Yeah, your 5 top airplanes. That you
okay. I can't really narrow it down to 5. Now, these are airplanes that I flew. That's what you said.
Okay. Yep.
So, all right. In the number 5 slot, I'm going to put a group. It would be the F-18, the F-15, and the F-16. I got to fly all of those in like crossover programs where the work I was doing for the people I was working with. So I got to fly those airplanes. Absolutely loved them. The F-18 Hornet was fantastic. Just fantastic. So that's category number 5. Then you get into the trainers. I spent time in the T-34, which was the Navy's primary trainer. I was an instructor in that. I got to do crossover work in the TA-4, which is the advanced trainer jet that the Navy used. They're all retired. That tells you how old I am. Those are gone now. If you saw the first Top Gun, the A-4 was the plane that they used at Top Gun as the opposition airplane in the first movie. The T-34, I can't really think of anything you've probably ever seen. You'd have to either gone through pilot training or be kind of a aviation geek. The next tier, the CH-53, H-53, and the MH-68 are the 2 helicopters. One's a fairly large helicopter for special ops, and the other one, the MH-68, was the Coast Guard's helicopter. If you've seen Bill cut out of Bad Boys 2, the scene where I'm flying it with my other aircraft, anybody can go on. I think it's Commander Cobra Bad Boys 2 on YouTube, and Billy's got that in there. It's Bill Skywatcher piece in there. He pulled that out. That's in there. So those.
I didn't know you was into movies.
And then the overall top one is the Skymaster. Probably the most unusual of the planes, and it's the most time I have in any airplane. Kind of unique design. So
Skymaster, what type of plane is that? A jet
It's
or
built
a?
by Cessna. The Air Force uses it as a forward air control airplane. The government contracted with people like me in various companies that I flew for in Iraq, Kosovo, to do intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance work. Flying with sensors on it, you could mount sensors on the wings. And as I used to explain to my kids when they were go out, look for the bad guy.
Interesting. Yeah, I like that.
That's a bicycle. That's a pusher puller.
Yes.
All right.
Always love seeing those.
Yeah. Well,
The,
hopefully it'll be in the opening scenes of my show when I finally get my own show back up online at KJRA. We're going to mix that in with Wagner and some other stuff. So, Charles, that ought to give you a whole picture. If I'm doing Wagner, you know, and that's because Wagner doesn't want royalties. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I really love the introduction of the Transport Scripting when you was still on KGRA radio.
Did you?
On the task force,
Yeah.
you mean?
Well,
So,
that's Billy's work there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, are there any plans of being a flight instructor?
I was a flight instructor in the military. I was a chief pilot for different companies I worked for, where I would check other pilots out. And I have a son-in-law who's a pilot now and would love to have me as an instructor so he can get some advanced training out of me. So, yes, I really need to do it. There's no good excuse for not getting it done.
Yeah.
So I think we're doing a movie night tomorrow.
Space Commander. That
So-
sounds really familiar, but I'm not remembering that. So I'm sorry, Amanda. Don't know why I'm missing it.
Charles suggested this one, I think. Right, Charles?
It's a kind of a boutique production out of Hollywood. Actually, some fairly well-known B actors.
Yeah.
And
What year, Charles?
It's in production now.
Oh, okay.
They're trying to get a TV series, but they've got a 2-hour pilot that's available on the internet. It's pretty darn good.
Oh, I'm writing that down.
It goes
I
from
got books to get. I got to get Oofy's book. Now I got to watch Space Command.
Space Command.
I don't think I can keep up with books and movies as much as they do.
Now remember
Yes,
Oofy's
we do
book.
have-
Don't forget Oofy's book. Remember right then.
Oh yeah, don't forget about that handbook.
Oh yeah, I got Oofy's book written down from earlier. So.
All right, good.
As speaking of Oofy, we did have a question regarding mind control of the UAP craft. Your thoughts on the possibility of remote viewer mind link onboard AI or humans, or
You know, it's interesting to me. I think that one of the things that's interesting about remote viewers, and I'm completely bought into it. One, the experience that I had with Margie when didn't know me. I got the cube. I'm with you. I got it. I got the cube. I got the cube. I'm with the cube. Margie on a break on the show didn't know me. I said, "Hey, give me a remote view," and she has a fairly high ethical kind of thing. You know, you have to give permission because she talked about sometimes some of the stuff that she saw was pretty bad. I mean, she had to deal with stuff. So that's a liability you probably wouldn't think of right off the bat when you think about it. So there's her and the experience we had and the stuff she came up with. 10 out of 10, complete knockout what she came up with. And this was about I'm going to say a 2.5 minute rundown where she talked about and the words that she used. She couldn't see me. She wasn't reading my facial reactions. She was seeing for real what was going on. And she did it right here in the house where she was viewing was right below where I'm sitting right now. So it was pretty darn cool. And a very good friend of mine, who worked counterintelligence in the Army. He's written a number of books. He's been a guest on my shows. His commanding officer and buddy that he ran with was in the unit that was kind of satirized in Men That Stare at Goats. He did remote viewing in Berlin during the Cold War as a way of gathering intelligence and what was going on. So a lot was gone into that. So the other stories that have been talked about, remote viewing was used as a means to try to figure out where Russian submarines were. It's a very interesting story. So they would put them in a room, they'd get in there, they would write, they would say where they saw the sub. They had a lot of trouble getting like exact coordinates, but they started to work on that and they started to get some pretty good results. And then these remote viewers were saying things like, it's very strange, the shape of this submarine. And they would ask them, can you draw the picture? And they'd give them a piece of paper and, you know, a pen or a pencil. And they would draw what you see as a submarine, like looking from space down. And then they would have a disc that was over the submarine. So a lot of people were theorizing that they were seeing some kind of UFO or alien technology or something that was in the shape of a disc. And we've had countless stories, right, about UFOs at missile sites, nuclear power plants, these kinds of things going on. So it kind of fit. Again, though, these are people that did not have that as something that was on their checklist. The thing that they were looking for was find out where they're at. I think there's a very good chance that you're going to have the ability to have people have ground to three-dimensional contact. What's interesting to me is where we go with AI. I don't like AI. I know it's a necessary thing that's coming, but I don't like it because ultimately AI is a product of man. And I'm one of those people that believes that man is flawed. See, that's just how we're coming. The algorithm, I'm a math major undergrad. Algorithms are only as good as you write them. They're only as good as how much you can put in and how fast you can do it. And of course, it just allows things to be done. The part that scares me the most, though, is people are willing to say whatever comes out of the AI is the decision. It's boss. Back in the 70s, 80s, there was an MD thing that came out for medical doctor work. They had patients talk to the computer. This is, I mean, just above basic that was going on. And the question would be, how do you feel today? And the patient would write, I don't feel good today. And if the computer didn't pick up a keyword in your typed in response, there was no cameras, there was no audio, you were just typing. It would say, well, what? It would have like these stock questions to get you to talk some more. And like a mentalist, when you gave the right thing that they could latch onto, it would start going down that. Well, tell me more about your headache. Do you have this headache all the time? And doctors found when they reviewed what their patients were doing on these programs, they were telling this computer more than they ever told their doctor. They were going into deep revelation of things that were going on with them, things that they had done, things that they had taken, experiences they were going through, stuff they would never spend with a doctor. That's what worries me about AI, where we seem to be looking for something to save us from ourselves, and we created this thing. I don't think it works. I don't think that's a happy ending. That's just me.
Yeah. So before we get into Amanda's minefield of pop culture, I was wondering if either Charles or Ron may have some comments.
Well, I have one on the AI thing. I'm still on the fence on it, okay? But you have a very good point, because people have opinion. You know, we as we grow older, especially, we gather our opinions and we base them on our experiences. You know, you don't get that downloaded all at once. You take the pieces and you put it together and you create a structure in your consciousness. Okay? And it all has to hold together. You could have something like that in an AI, but it has no depth. You know, it has no, and it has, you have to have that depth of feeling. You have to put the sweat and the blood and the effort in to actually learn enough to know something. And an AI can't do that, can't experience that. So it doesn't have that depth of a personality, that depth of character. You know, I don't know. I could be completely wrong. That's the way I'm starting to look at it.
There's a difference between being human and humanism. So
exactly. Now I had a thought about that exact same thing there, Commander. Think about this now. All right. You know how we're trying to preserve ourselves and live longer? You know, in a sense that we're all trying to do that. One way or another, we're trying to be more spiritual. We're trying to live longer. We're trying to connect to source, as they say. And we're trying to connect, you know, on a spiritual level. We're trying to be eternal, more or less, live forever, right? And that's our goal as a human being for the most part. And that's what our drive is. Now, what they're going to do, though, here's what's going to happen. You notice how a lot of things should go on animation, okay?
Right.
You're not even using real people anymore.
Right.
You might be using their voice, but who knows if you're using their voice? It could be AI voice for all we know. You know, now, you know, they can generate a computerized voice to make it sound like the person. Who's even doing that? Nobody really knows. So what they could actually do is this. One, they can take our thoughts, our mental awareness, they can put it into a character. They can create what they think we should look like, okay? And then it's not us, it's not who we are, but yet they're putting ourselves in that situation. Then also they can even take our DNA and make something else out of it. You know what I mean? So in other words, we're not even human anymore. So we're not even gonna be any need for salvation. We're not gonna have any need for spiritual, you know, nothing. We're just gonna be someone's thought process, and there you go. You got the character. So the problem that I have with that is that we don't die. You're going to be stuck in this loop forever. Okay, so in India, if you remember back in the day, way back in the 80s, all right, if you took a picture of somebody in India, you were put on trial. You were going to jail. Because what you're doing is you're taking their soul. You're taking part of them and you're taking it away. All right? We've gone so far the other side of that, we're okay with that. Right now, just doing this live video feed across the whole internet thing, going out all over the world, you know, we're putting more of ourselves out into the electronics of things, and technically we're giving it to them, you know, and then they're using whatever they want and making whatever they want out of it. That's what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
And that could be a way that they're going to use the so-called traveling to different places, you know, or to different times or whatever. And we won't know anything about that. We're going to be long gone, technically. But part of us is going to be alive. My light just turned out. Don't let that bother you.
All right. So is that like a paranormal thing that's going on? Do we have something?
No. That's just a timer. That's just a timer.
Are you sure it's a timer?
I hope so.
I want the audience to start looking behind
you
Ron.
know what time it is, Ron.
I just want to know I want the audience looking behind Ron at all times for whatever spectral thing is going on behind him.
There is some things going on there. Yeah, I do have some weird stuff. Anthony Simonelli, he's one of the guys who have a show on Thursday night with Marine, and called Dimensions of Supernatural. And Anthony was a guest on my show with his other co-host, Jenny, and they're both on there. He said, "We see a shadow behind you," you know. And Anthony actually is he draws things that he sees, you know, and he draws the characters that he sees. He draws them out exactly, and so he's drawing out what he saw. And I'm not going to show you what I drew out, but I did see something and I drew it out. so anyway,
well,
I know
Ron,
things.
Then you want me to be your guy that draws it in the future, because I'm pretty much a stick guy kind of thing there. So my drawings aren't too scary.
You can do a stick thing with the little. That's how I draw things. Do stick things. Yeah. So, but no, I do think that I see some dangers in this AI thing and the AI generated type of whatever you want to call it. The thing is, we're gonna be. I mean, actors are trying to figure out how can they get the rights to their work that they're doing. Right? They're already talking about this. They're getting their hard work all taken away from this electronic crap, so to speak. And so instead of really acting, they're not really acting. Somebody's writing a script, somebody's using a voiceover, if you wanted to call it that,
Well, in some
so
cases, Ron, they got the AI writing the script.
yeah, well, there you go. Yeah, you can plug in a word, and the whole story comes out.
I don't know. There's a country singer just recently who suffered, I believe, a stroke. Can't sing anymore, but he had his entire catalog put into AI. He created a new song. He authorized that.
Okay.
And AI used his voice. They get the right sounds, and then they're able to create how you sound. And he sang a new song. Now, I think that's kind of neat. I think that's kind of cool because here's someone who can't physically do this anymore, but he is cognitively aware that it's being done, and they did that. But what do you do with people that are passed away? I mean, this is now the growing cottage industry is you get all the recordings, messages that you had of a loved one. You feed it into an AI program, and now you can have conversations with someone in your family that's passed on. I think that might provide some comfort, but I also think that that's kind of
So I'm going
going into an area that I know I just don't think I'm a very well equipped.
Hold on, Robin Williams had a show like that actually. I can't remember what the name.
No, I remember the movie that he did. He did a very interesting movie. That was the one that captured they captured the memories.
Yes.
And he made like a movie of it going
and kept the memory alive. Yeah. And they kept the memory alive for the family. That I can't remember what the name of it is.
Yeah, I can't either. And of course, Black Mirror did, I think, one of the greatest versions of it. People had a Cortex recording in there so they could have total recall of everything they experienced.
Oh, wow.
And what happened was a guy finds out that his wife has had an affair with the friend, and he now can't unsee it. She's trying to get rid of those memories. And at the end of it, he is so destroyed by what's going on. He physically rips the cortex out of his brain, and it's like doing a hard drop. And he'd rather not have anything than have to relive the experience of the pain over and over again.
Yeah. That's true.
Now, here's one quick one. This is, and I don't mean this to sound as flippant as it comes out. And I love your dog, Charles.
Charles, yeah, that's Max.
I gotta throw this out here.
Go ahead.
Does everybody have the confidence that we have the electrical power source to make all this stuff stay up and work? And as I say that, Charles's lights blinked. Ron's lights are out. Master player, I'm waiting for him to have some kind of like lightning bolt come out of the ceiling.
Yeah, and Charles, you're on mute, man. You're on mute.
I think there is some kind of a principle where the more complicated things are, the more likely they are to fail.
Absolutely.
So
yeah.
And I do this all the time when we talk about stuff we do with the airplanes. We're going to have all these great capabilities.
All kinds of sideways.
Yeah, just tell me when it all fails. Do I still have control or not?
That was the problem with that one Boeing that kept going down.
Well, yes and no.
One of the problems.
The problem is that they didn't exactly tell everybody, so they made sure they were trained to deal with the failure. Right. Because they tried to make sure that anybody who flew the earlier version of the airplane could fly this newer version of the airplane. And they didn't understand how the system worked. So when you had the failure, if you hadn't been exposed to it, and here's the really sad part about those two very tragic accidents. a week or 2 weeks before the first one crashed. The same plane went through that failure mode, but there was a third pilot sitting in the jump seat just getting a ride. He knew what it was. He told them what to do because he knew this procedure.
Yeah.
And it wasn't well known, wasn't enunciated in the manual. So they fly out of it. But they didn't write it up. They didn't put it in there
Man.
because they didn't want to let anybody else know that they didn't know what to do and how they got this third pilot who happened to know how to go with it. And that's unusual in aviation. In aviation, you usually fess up pretty quick. I was a safety guy, and when you did a safety investigation, what you talked to me about could not be used against you because we wanted to know if it was a human error or if it was a engineering error. That was the most important part, because if it was a human error, then we're going to figure out how we're going to put a procedure in to keep people from doing it. If it was a engineering mechanical failure, we wanted to know that because you ground airplanes and then you go and fix it.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
Oofy had a question.
well, let's get to Amanda's first. Let's
Yeah.
get to Amanda's minefield first. Are you a fan of Saw movies, or if you ever saw the recent
I'm a
one?
fan of Saw the way they did video direct to the marketplace. The first one was okay. I rapidly dropped off. I kind of like when you see return characters. I like the stuff that goes with it. I thought the first one was it was gory more than I probably appreciate or like, but I like the technique that they used. I just think it got ridiculous after the first one. Not my kind of style movie on that, but it's a pretty interesting breakout technique that was used to bypass theaters and go to this new age that we live in, that people are going to watch it direct on video or direct on the internet. So pretty intense there.
So, what about if you're a Beatles fan? You ever listen to that song now and then, or you're not like not the
Well,
way of
Amanda kind of knows that I'm not a super duper Beatles fan.
That's why I'm laughing.
But I really like Harrison, and she knows that I'm really crazy about Harrison. And I really liked when he did the when he was with the other guys. I'm trying to think. I want to say Traveling Mulberries, but I got that wrong. My brain is failing me. But yes, I'm a Metallica fan. There's quite a few interesting groups that I follow. I have a pretty wide catalog. But I do the latest Beatles song I thought was interesting. I'm glad that it's out. But I think again the buildup was so high for what this was going to come out, and it didn't hit the spot. It just didn't have what was there. But it was great to hear that again. I mean, it was great to have something new come out of that.
Yeah. What do you think of the electric car? There you go.
I think it is an absolute aberration. That's what I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you know Jade. I don't know who Jay is, but maybe you can
Jade at
elaborate.
Bill. Jade. It was at Jade was here this year. Commander.
Did I meet Jade? Yeah, I met Jade. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know about the remote viewing that he did to find Amanda's phone? You know about that?
Nope.
Okay.
Oh,
We got a story to tell you then.
everybody knew that story.
Charles was there when that happened. When Amanda was here at Pine Bush, rather, she was at Pine Bush, and what happened was she had lost her phone. Now, first time coming to the United States, and her phone was her only contact with her mom, right?
Right.
And so when she was leaving, she couldn't find her phone. And of course, you know how crazy that would make you if you lost your phone. That was the only thing you had to contact your wife, and then your phone is missing. Then what? What are you gonna do?
I go through this about once a week.
And so anyway, a year later, Bill's on his live stream, and Jade's in Florida or South Carolina somewhere, and then all of a sudden, Jade can do this remote viewing trick, I call it a trick, but you know what I mean.
Yep.
He was able to do remote viewing, and he actually found Amanda's phone. Now remember, we looked for Amanda's phone
For 3
probably
days.
about yeah,
We
and
took the entire lot
yeah,
apart.
and we
I mean,
couldn't
really,
find it. We couldn't find it. A year later, Jade's doing this remote view for Bill on live stream.
No, that was for
Okay.
Keith. That was for Keith. Keith Hicks, if you know him. He didn't believe at all.
Right, yeah, and
Ability.
yeah,
So they were having a conversation like we are now,
yeah,
and said, "Well, if you're that good, tell us what happened to Amanda's phone."
yeah.
And he directed Bill point to
find
point
it.
to point to exactly where the phone was.
And guess where it was? Right where
And
he
he
said it
reached
was.
down inside the recliner of the sofa, and it had fallen against the baseboard behind in a pocket in the upholstery. So it wasn't on the floor, and it wasn't in where you would actually see if you took the cushions off, you couldn't see it.
Yeah.
You had to go in and down and under. It was right there. And he directed him perfectly to it.
Did it still have a charge?
No,
No, just joking. I was just
no. Jade was not there. Jade was not there when she lost the
She
phone.
covered it with all the images and everything. So
Yeah.
it was
Jade
very
was not any part of that, and
Yep.
as far as
No,
hiding it or anything.
he wasn't even
So-
in the state at the time that happened.
right.
So what's interesting is that I know Amanda wouldn't pull a joke like that and be without her phone.
No
For
one
Yeah,
would have done that to her.
Right, exactly.
We're not that kind of people,
And we all had the same kind of phone. Nothing that we'd want to steal her phone for, because we already had a phone that was the same level of technology. So we're not going to be doing that.
So,
But-
see, Ron, I really love how you are going down the checklist. Okay.
Yeah.
Jay didn't take the phone and put it someplace he wasn't there. You guys didn't hide the phone. Amanda's writing in there. Did you guys had lifted stuff up? You didn't hear anything.
No.
I mean, let's be honest. You're at a pretty frantic pace. Now you know each time you look at the same spot, you're digging harder and deeper. Okay.
Yeah.
And then around a year later, you tune in and you have someone that can tune in and come to that.
Yeah. And they found the phone, and it worked. And by then she already got another phone, obviously. But the thing is, she's able to get her pictures off of there from the trip and everything like that. And I just found it interesting. Jade was able to find that phone,
Well,
and he wasn't even there.
He did it live online.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here
And
watching.
Bill might still have that.
What? We looked there.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead. By the red thing with the sparkles.
The pillows that's on the couch.
It was a pillow with a weave to it that when you moved it, it would change colors, change reds. Oh, it's over there. So Bill's over there looking around there, and no, we looked there, and then he actually directed him down and inside.
And found it.
all right. So,
Found it.
and you guys want to probably hear the other part. So, Margie K.
Yeah.
on the show on the break. Okay. She goes, okay, I'm standing in your house. And what I see is, oh my, that's like the biggest sink I've ever seen. And I had just recently put in a new metal sink in the kitchen for my wife. One of those big metal, she's a pretty small gal. She could take a bath in it. I mean, it's that big, a sink. And I said, okay, Margie, I want you to turn to the left and tell me. And she goes, this is really strange. I see it looks like a wooden chair, but there's wires running behind it from like the floor to the ceiling. And I'm giving her nothing. I'm going, that's interesting. I said, I think I know where you're standing. Can you turn around and tell me what you see 180 degrees from where you're looking? She turns around. She goes, I see a chair. But this chair seems like it's the center of everything that's going on in your house. It's like there's a lot of energy around this chair. Now, I didn't tell her anything. I told her after the show how she had hit this stuff on. What had happened was I put the new sink in. I had knocked a wall out in the kitchen to expand the kitchen a little bit, and the electrician wasn't there yet. So the wires were hanging from the ceiling to the floor with a wooden chair at the table. Now, yeah, and then when she turned around, this was the icing on the psyche cake. Okay, my wife loves to shop at Goodwills and Salvation Armies and stuff like that. She calls me up and she says, I just found a brand new leather recliner chair. It looks like no one's ever sat in it. $50. Get your truck, get over here. There's like 4 feet of snow in the back of my truck when she gets the super deal. Okay. So I have to shovel the truck out. Now I'm getting tarps because it's raining, it's snowing, and it's leather. So from the start, this chair is an extremely high amount of energy and emotional part, and it rearranges the entire house. Stuff that was on the 3rd floor had to go out. Stuff that was on the 1st floor went up to the 3rd floor to bring this chair in. This chair completely recentered our lives. Okay. It was like a week later that chair's sitting there when Margie is on the show when she does this. She knows nothing about any of this. And she went down the line on these things. And there was no prep. There wasn't a lot of time on it. It basically was a live connection. We just didn't do it on the air.
Yeah. And there was no way that anyone else would know outside of your family, your closest associates and family, your wife, probably just you and your wife.
Right.
Yeah.
So COBRA. So do you have Netflix, or if so, you think about the Altered Carbon, or you've never seen it?
I have not seen it. I'm a little bit familiar with it. I gave up Netflix a few years back. I forgot what it was. Something they did upset me. I don't want to use the bad word. They just upset me. So.
Yeah. So how many smart systems are still susceptible to EMP? I think there's lots of them.
Yeah, I think all of them is there are very few systems that are not going to be susceptible. It's not nearly at, well, it depends on the level of the event when it goes off. There's a really great series of books out there. 1 second later, 1 minute later, 1 hour later, the guy writes about what happens if it goes off. If we get to that point, don't worry about AI. AI will be taken care of along with everything else.
So, speaking of, let's go back to the phone. How many of you would have thought that you could have said it was right in front of your face? And you're just passing it and stuff like that.
You mean with the phone like in your hand, you mean?
Yeah, but when you found Amanda's phone, how many of you thought it could have been right in front of your face?
We didn't think that.
No,
like I said, we didn't think we were ever going to find it again.
I searched that couch.
Yeah.
I took all the stuff off, took the cushions off, lifted it up and looked under it. I didn't find it.
Yeah.
No.
So
And
how about we do an AI generated song? Will you all be down with that? This is the one that Bill did for Ron, and I thought you might enjoy it. Would anybody be down for it?
Bill did a song for me?
Yeah. You want to hear it?
Sure.
The airwaves noise pounds my brain. Amped up vibrations, feel the sonic strain. Dusty studio lights, haze, electric thrill. Home records explode, can't get my fill. Ronald tearing through the night, speakers roar with sheer delight. Let the chaos take its flight. Ronald rocks with all his might. numbs my brain. Amped up vibrations, feel the sonic strain. Dusty studio lights, haze, electric thrill. Home records explode, can't get my fill. Ronald tearing through the night, speakers roar with sheer delight. Let the chaos take its flight. Ronald rocks with all his might. Ronald rocks with all his might. City's heartbeats heavy under neon glare. Guitar scream rebellion fills the midnight air. Street lights hum, whispers of the past. Shadows share, never meant to last. Ronald tearing through the night, speakers roar with sheer delight. Let the chaos take its flight. Ronald rocks with all his might. Ronald rocks with all his might.
Oh, and let me tell you something. If some jabroni would love to try us with those AI generated songs, I'll be like,
Yeah.
you want me to put a little De La Hoya in that? Because I don't. Because even if it's AI generated, it's like what's wrong with that? So yeah.
Well, that in itself is okay.
So do you think that telepathic ability in humans is something ET can enable or disable, like a switch?
Yeah, I
Ooh,
do.
yeah.
I think there's enough evidence of encounters that people have had where they are communicating, but they're not using voice communications. The fact that we seem to have the ability to, you have people who do not speak the same language that are in an encounter, and everyone is able to communicate. So if you're further along in the evolutionary development, it doesn't surprise me that some of those abilities have been perfected, honed. If you prescribe, and I think there's some strong evidence to that there is a demonic as well as holistic element to ET encounters, that makes sense as well. I mean, I think that those fit. So that, yeah, I don't think there's anything that's real surprising there.
Yeah. And speaking of AI, I just wish there might be some software where we can do some AI generated videos and have them like uploaded on YouTube and stuff. I think that would be a good one. So you like that song, anybody?
Excellent.
And
Ron is a rocker. There's no doubt. He's rocking into the night.
yeah.
Right. I didn't know Bill made that one.
Yeah, so yeah, that was Bill that made that one. Now Ufi made one about the Pine Bush trip, and then he made one for Gettysburg.
Okay.
So so you want to listen to those to end the show, or?
Yeah, we can. If Commander wants to stay awake for that.
Whatever you guys want to do. I'm
All right.
on the wing. I'm on the wing for another 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, this won't take long. Here we go.
Ron's big rig load out at dawn. Coffee and cheeseburgers kept him on. Heading north to the UFO Fest. Google Maps will figure out the rest. Pit stop down at Billy's joint. Greased up fries and a meatloaf point. Home free was the star in his eyes, but those Minnesota woods do tell lies. Under the Minnesota moon, cruising June tune. Radio rodeos playing loud. Ron's on a cosmic cloud. Got lost somewhere past county line. Phone's dead, not a single sign. Friends calling at 3 a.m. best. Follow the stars, we'll do the rest. Aliens in abductees fill the night. Ron's truck sparks off the northern light. Hours pass like a blurry dream. Festival lights make him beam. Under the Minnesota moon, crooning a June tune. Radio rodeos playing loud. Ron's on a cosmic cloud. Got lost somewhere past county line. Phone's dead, not a single sign. Friends calling their 3 a.m. best. Follow the stars, we'll do the rest. Aliens in abductees fill the night. Ron's truck sparks off the northern light. Hours pass like a blurry dream. Festival lights make him beam. Under the Minnesota moon, crooning a June tune. Radio rodeos playing loud. Ron's on a cosmic cloud. Ron's on a cosmic cloud.
And now his won't be until later in July, but here is the Gettysburg Bash.
Oh, the moon was high above Gettysburg town. The night air filled with whispers all around. Ron and his friends, they settled in to sleep, but strange sounds echoed through the darkness deep. They heard the cannon fire, the rifles too. The men in blue and gray, their ghosts anew. Their horses' hooves, the sound of cannons loud. The battle cries as if it happened now, not long ago. Ron sat up straight, his heart racing fast. What's going on, he asked with a scared laugh at last. His friends were silent, lost in the sound. The wind carried voices from far beyond their grounds. They saw the shadows, dark and tall. Men in uniforms, through the trees they crawled. Ron and his crew sat there frozen in fear, their eyes wide open with tears about to appear. Oh, the Gettysburg Bash was a strange night indeed. Ghosts of battle still lingered in their need. They fought for freedom, or so is told. But Ron and friends were left to face the unknown cold. The wind died down, sounds grew faint. The shadows disappeared, leaving only the pain. Ron got up, shaking off the fear. Stepped outside into the early morning clear. Oh, the Gettysburg Bash was a strange night indeed. Ghosts of battle still lingered in their need. They fought for freedom, or so was told. But Ron and friends were left to face the unknown cold.
And that was the Gettysburg Bash. So,
All right.
how do
I
you
can
like it,
easily
Cobra?
see people two-stepping all across the dance floor to both those.
You like that one, huh?
Oh, they're both great.
Now, Charles had one. Charles, you had one. Charles is on mute again.
I don't think I got anything from Charles.
Yeah, it's in Skype. It's in the group Skype.
Oh, I
Little
may have
U-
missed it.
little
You might have to
UFO.
send it again. You're gonna have to send it again.
I don't know, Charles.
The same, Amanda. It was great to see you again. Hopefully, Ron will have me on again. And
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to be pushing ERRT as much as I can over the next couple months. Get you guys to get your permanent numbers up.
There
Get
you
your
go.
subscribers up.
Yeah. Just direct them over here to Errt Radio YouTube and, of course, on Mixler channel, Errt Radio Mixler. And you go to ertradio.com and click on the chat room tab, and you can get to the chat room where we always hang out. And like I said, if you like music on Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern, that's Amanda's show. So,
Well, I really would have enjoyed Amanda's show and drinking some of my whiskey. But I
there
had to
you go.
stay up late tonight to take care of her buddy. So I've been drinking
Oh,
the water, which
well,
is
thank you for that. Yeah.
excellent.
See, I've been drinking the smart water. Not that I'm advertising, but got to be smart. You might as well drink smart water, right?
Got to get that pH level just right.
There you go.
Well, Charles,
No,
it was great to see and talk with you. Bobby, the master player. It's nice to finally meet you. And Ron, as always, it was great seeing you at Pine Bush. And you let me know when you want to do this again, and we'll try to work it out.
Oh yeah, well I know your schedule's kind of tight sometimes, but you can.
It's goofy. It's definitely goofy.
We can definitely keep in touch, and you can let me know when you're in between projects, or maybe when you get your new show going on KGRA, and then we can have another talk.
You bet. I'll be getting your book ordered up. Let's see, two things I have to do. I got to get Oofy's book, and I got to look at this Space Command.
Thank you,
series.
Oofy and Amanda, for the great questions. And
yeah, it gets kind of crazy here when we all try to figure out stuff together.
We had Alice in Wonderland, which is Lorraine. Arel was here. And Cherie Lady Spitfire was here. So I think that's the only ones I could think of.
Yeah.
So Lady Spitfire or Cherie, well, thank you. RL, thank you. Oofy, thank you. Amanda, thank you. Johnny U was here, thank you. And did I say RL? I don't think I did. So
yeah, you said RL.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you all for being here. And Cobra, peace.
Same, my friend.
All right,
like in the old shows, God's peace surpasses all knowledge and understanding. And God, we live in times that's the truth.
Yeah. Thank you for staying up late with us, and always fun to have a talk with you. And I had our talk that we had at Pine Bush. Remember, we were standing on the sidewalk there. You were on the sidewalk
when you were drawing all those women over to us.
That's right. And I actually got that on my Rumble channel. If you go over to Rumble and you look up Errt Radio on
Well,
Rumble,
yeah, I saw you had the camera out. You were about as
and
subtle as a ball peen hammer on the side of my head.
but you played along well.
I wanted to give it the element that this was like some kind of like secret, taping that was going on.
That's right. So we have fun though. I mean, you gotta admit we do have fun.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's the main thing, that we have fun. I'd like to get up to where you live at and check out your farm one of these days. I know, if I remember right, Kathy was up there, right?
Yes.
With Kathy was up there to visit
Kathy
you?
lives about 40 minutes away from me.
Okay, yeah, all right. Yeah, I haven't seen her. I mean, she's in the chat sometimes with Bill and stuff like that. But I know with everything going on with the kid here not being able to be on YouTube anymore, it's kind of hard to get everyone into the Rumble chat.
Yep.
It's a little bit challenging trying to get everybody over there and support that and get that built up some. And
Speaking of KGRA, I wish they were back on YouTube, because while Facebook is also easy and convenient, Rumble can be a little bit difficult when it comes to live shows.
yeah.
I mean,
But all right, then this is going out to Facebook, to Rumble, to Odyssey, I believe, is another platform. Bobby's Twitch, I believe. Of course, YouTube, obviously. So we're kind of getting all out there, So if you're shy, you're in the wrong spot. Don't be shy here. So
yeah, it's true what you said, Amanda. YouTube censors way too much. So is Facebook. Facebook censors as well.
but
Well,
I think that's about it, Commander. We did 2 hours. Holy cow!
it's
was a
getting
quick
close.
ride.
Oh, you're on mute, Charles, again.
Charles is on me again. We're gonna get
Guys,
him
drop
trained
me an
in.
email.
I will.
We need to chat up on the emails. Be well. And happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there.
Yep. Happy Father's Day, everyone. It's a father.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to be peeling
All
off
right.
the wing. Hugs and kisses to you, Amanda. It was great to see you here tonight. Be good.
All right. Good night.
I still love that for sure. But all right, let's go. I'm trying to do a show. Dr. Pearls reminding you that you should continue listening and watching the Errt Radio on your favorite device on Mixer, Podbean, YouTube, Facebook, Trouble, Odyssey, and Rumble. And going to ertradio.com and hit that big PayPal button and make yourself a $40 gift. You get this nice, glorious Errt Radio hat while supplies last. But if you do not, I will come on my spaceship. I will beam you up. And you better pray to your God, because you know what's going to happen to you and your wallet. Thank you for your cooperation, and I hope you have a good night.
And if you look at the hat on my head, it's black, not gray. I don't know why it looks gray in that picture, but anyway. So I hope everyone had fun. We did try to let Commander talk a little bit. I think we did all right.
Commander
Yeah, we
always,
did
always has something interesting to bring to the table.
Yeah, and we always got so many ideas in our head that's always trying to jump
Oh,
out
God.
at the same time. And
Yep.
so that gets kind of difficult sometimes. And then he has a lot to share and wants to talk about. And so we're all trying to get her get maybe the same thought out there. But yeah, that's interesting. So, but we'll have him on again, that's for sure. And it only took me a few years to get him on this time, but hey, we got him on.
Yeah, okay. You probably caught him on film doing something he shouldn't be doing.
Well,
it had to be blackmail.
that's right. Yeah, yeah. We didn't want to go there, but since you brought it up, all right. No,
It just had to be. You know. No, he is a nice guy, and he does things for the people he likes. And that's
oh yeah.
good to be in that on that side of him.
Yeah, and good that we have that good friend circle, so to speak, and
That's right.
that's what I like about everyone. That I do know that.
Damn it, we're like it or not, we're all in this thing together.
Yeah, and we're all part of a good circle that we all get along, and I think we all try to achieve the same goal, which is to get a message out there to somebody, whatever that message might be. And yeah, so maybe I'm about ready to fall asleep myself. It's been 2 hours.
Well, thanks for inviting me in, Ron.
Well,
And
you're welcome. Yeah, and you're always welcome
glad
to
to be
join
here.
us. Yeah, anytime you're bored and you want to join us on a Friday and you have the energy to join in.
Somehow bored just isn't a problem. I don't know why. But there's always more than I have. Yeah, it's easy to get lost in the. It's easy to get lost in the weeds, as it were. You know.
And you're always welcome though, anytime, obviously. And so just let me know when you want to jump in and have some fun, and you can even share your thoughts. If you have your own thing you want to discuss, and bring the topic on. So.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, my show's not over yet. It's just in. I'm just on a sabbatical, and I'll tell you,
I know.
Having a few weeks off has been good for me.
Yeah, but
me time to,
I think you know that you're missed. So
it's like a vacation.
Yeah, but people miss your show. Yeah.
So I hope they do, and I hope they come back when we come back.
Yeah.
That's
but while you're on break, though, anytime you want to join us here, you're more than welcome. And you and Maria, you are both welcome as always. So I know she might have other things going on and she ain't able to make it, but
everybody's busy. But it's that kind of world. Everybody's busy. Well, kind of.
But never be shy, or never be afraid to jump in.
That's it.
All right. But I think that's about it for tonight. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and whoever was on Facebook or whatever, and whoever was watching over there. Thank you. Again, everyone on YouTube, thank you. Amanda, thanks for staying up late and joining in. And we'll have more fun. We're going to watch that movie tomorrow night, so we'll do that on Skype, and that'll be fun. All right.
Remind me again what time that's at 8?
Amanda, what time is that? 8 p.m. Eastern, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
8 p.m. Eastern is 7 for us, I think she said.
Okay.
7 for me, Central Time. So, That's going to be
Okay.
really weird if and whenever I move to Arizona, if that's going to be mountain time. That's really going to be weird. Oh man. Oh man. I thought Central Time was bad. Mountain Time is going to be really weird.
Go
And
back
don't
to your first
forget,
time zone, California.
Yeah.
don't forget, Arizona always uses standard time, so it's really going to be a pain in the ass.
Yeah. Well, Standard Time is what you call Mountain Time. The same.
No,
I
it's
think.
not. They don't use daylight savings time.
Right. Right. But there is a Mountain Time. There is a Standard Time, which I believe they're the same. Um, just called differently. One doesn't change the time like you're saying, which is fine with me. I'd rather we didn't. I'd rather we keep it the same damn time all the time instead of spring forward and drop backward or whatever.
Somebody told me that they were going to do that.
Well, they voted on it and they approved it, but they just like everything else, they
Got to implement it, huh? Because
yeah.
I had heard that, and then I didn't hear anything more about it for.
I would be more. See, they had the time change because the old days before all the street lights and before everything was lighted and everything was fine. You didn't need the daylight. You'd work according to daylight. And then you'd work early in the morning when it came up earlier, or you'd work late in the evening when it would set later. And now, of course, with everything that you have lights all, you don't need that. You can pretty much work into the night if you need to. So but yeah. So that I don't think that the time change is needed for that whole thing that we used it for. I think we just have it set for whatever time zone you're in. You just leave it there. You don't have to go back, forward, or whatever.
Let's have our own individual solar time zone. We'll set it by noon.
Yeah.
It's always noon. It's always noon. It doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Noon is noon, but my noon and your noon will tell you how far apart we are.
Yeah. No. Yeah, I don't know. That's kind of like the
That's how they did the railroads back in the old days.
yeah.
The railroad time was because that was before they had time zones. So it was set by the local time from the sun.
I was kind of laughing when Commander was talking about the remote viewers telling us where the submarines are, right? And it's like,
Yeah.
we don't need them anymore today because everybody knows where they are now. Everyone's talking about them being off the coast of, Cuba, and all that.
That water is pretty well mic'd up.
Yeah, but
You can't very well. There's not very many that you can slide through there without getting picked up.
right.
I
just kind of laughing about that though. We talk a lot about the military, different plans that we have going on. Instead of used to be secret when we're doing military exercises. It used to be secret, but not anymore. Now everybody knows what we're doing. It's like, well, that's kind of stupid. So anyway,
sometimes it's the benefit to let them know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Hey,
let's go.
Good night, guys. You have a great,
let's
great
go
time.
tonight.
See you tomorrow.
All right. Thank you. Good night, Charles. All right.
All right. Thank you for watching.
Yep.
All right.